Many thanks. I'm delighted to be here and to have heard of the fantastic presentations we've had so far. So I'll just briefly reflect on, I guess, what we've heard and also, I suppose, where we've come over the last few years. So as Emma mentioned, back in 2019, we published a Grantham Institute briefing paper highlighting the various different co-benefits that climate action could bring, and then partnered with Emma and the Ashton team as they launched their co-benefits toolkit around various events around the country. And that toolkit, the Ashton's toolkit, landed really, really well. It obviously came at a time at which loads of councils had declared climate emergencies and ambitious net zero targets, often without any additional budget. And so I think the toolkit was really, really timely in terms of it basically showing how we can kind of multi-problem solve, essentially. I remember hearing that the toolkit had been downloaded something like 6,000 times in the first few weeks. Obviously, a lot has happened in those last 6 years, and it's fair to say, I think, that at different levels, at national, international level, the kind of priority given to climate action has waxed and waned. But that said, I've always been very heartened by the amount of action that's taking place at the local level and the leadership shown by councillors and officers in helping to drive things forward. And I do think that the benefits that climate action offers have helped. Sometimes that's been, I think, driven by necessity in terms of helping to get policies over the line amidst tight budgets. And I think, councils those on the call have drawn on this to help to make the business case. And so many of the excellent case studies highlighted in the UK 100 report, and as an example, the kind of warm homes and prescription scheme are really great examples of trying to align, things that are good for climate with stuff which is good for many of the other things that's on people's mind. And with that in mind, I'd like to kind of just reflect, I suppose, about why co-benefits can be important in terms of that kind of public engagement piece. So a couple of years ago, we ran some focus groups with members of the public to basically understand their views on the co-benefits of climate action. And I'll just share a quote from someone who was within the focus group who was quite skeptical of whether humans were causing climate change. And within that group, we were discussing the various co-benefits and specifically a conversation on the benefits of energy efficiency and on making homes more affordable to heat. And the person said, and I quote, "It's my firm belief that no one in this country, no one should have to choose between heating and eating. That this would be my primary concern over anything, to be honest, because I think it's a social thing that as a country, we should be thoroughly ashamed that we've been brought to this." And so while that person almost certainly wouldn't have backed action on climate change as an end in itself, when we got to discussing some of the outcomes that climate action could help to deliver in terms of improvements in housing and helping make it easier for people to be able to afford to heat their homes, they were very supportive of that particular outcome. They not necessarily with a kind of climate lens as to why they wanted it to happen. And I think this is an illustration of why co-benefits are important. And the UK 100 report sort of says it really well when they say that co-benefits are important because they can help to deliver the outcomes that our communities want to see and to feel, which, as has been said already, and well beyond just reducing greenhouse gas emissions, as important as we all know that is. But I think it's fair to say that drawing on the co-benefits can be an easy thing to say, but not always an easy thing to do, given some of the reasons we've heard about the pressures that local authorities are under, the fact that these co-benefits often extend beyond departmental remits, and indeed to organisations outside of the local authorities, such as local health trusts. And over the last few months with colleagues at Imperial, we've been conducting interviews with decision makers from the local to national level to try and get a better understanding of how the health benefits are considered in the decision-making process. And we've heard from a number of council officers that while the kind of national level statistics are often available, those stats aren't always available or disaggregated down to the local level for officers who are kind of wanting to include comparable statistics in their business case. And that's why I think it's really great to hear from Andrew and his team about the work that they've been doing on the Climate Atlas, which I hope and I'm sure will be a really useful tool to help officers to access estimates of the benefits that can potentially be included into business cases. And I hope that people will take Andrew up on his offer to engage with his team to help to shape and further refine the Atlas as it develops. One other thing that came out strongly from our recent interviews on climate and health was the need to better quantify the impact that interventions are having. We've heard about this already today, and to track those benefits over time to make sure they're accrued in reality and to then share those back with the public. And I think that was a message that came through really strongly in the UK 100 report, the need for better monitoring, better evaluation in order to help others to make, well, either internally within the council to help make the next business case to either repeat or to scale up that intervention, or indeed to help to improve the evidence base so that other local authorities can make the case for similar interventions. And I'd really echo and I really like one of UK 100's calls within the report for national frameworks and tools to support the consistent tracking of climate outcomes and co-benefits alongside the funding and capacity building support, so that local authorities can use them effectively. And lastly, just want to acknowledge that while the evidence base is really important for helping to make the case in the first place and for reporting back to decision makers and the public on the kind of impacts of these interventions, I want to recognise that political will is often a limiting factor in terms of these things happening in reality. And I feel that it's often the stories of people's lives that can help to get the foot in the door when engaging with decision makers. And then it's the evidence base that helps to get those kind of policies over the line. And so to that end, I'd like to emphasize the need for the incorporation of qualitative insights and indeed stories that kind of tell the tale of how co-benefits are making a real difference to people's lives, whether that's through living in a clean home that people can afford to heat, or being able to breathe clean air as well. So kind of really important for that combination of the quantitative insights with those that are more qualitative in the kind of stories that help to catch people's attention. Anyway, really look forward to unpacking some of these points in more detail in the breakout rooms, and thanks again for being here.